I would like to go back and ask you, you mentioned your father being ill and so on. Who were your mother and your father?
Well, my father was Roswell Gross, and
Can you give me his approximate date of birth?
yes, he was born September 23rd, 1850.
1850.
That's right.
Was he born in Beaver
He
Township?
was born on the farm, but the house is no longer standing. It's about the house he was born in, Bird, was about 300 yards east of where I was born, along the same road.
Approximately right above where the Beaver Lutheran Church is now.
Well, farther east.
Further east
yes,
than that. That would have been Union County, of course, in 1850.
In 1850, the Union County.
And how about your mother?
And my mother was Ada Klingler, a cousin of old Bill Klingler, the town character around here.
Did they sometimes refer to him as 91? Did he invent the coupler, the railroad coupling device?
Yes, that's right.
And someone asked him one time how many stripes a zebra had, and he says, oh, 91.
Well, I don't know where he got that, but that he was her cousin. And
when was your mother born?
my mother was born in March 1854.
And where was she born?
She was born in a house which also is no longer standing, on the farm next to mine, the farm I used to own, right across the road from where the boot.
Yes.
Just across the road.
Yes, sir.
But that house has been demolished. And that's where she was born.
All right, sir.
And
let me ask you about your fathers on your paternal side. Who were your paternal grandparents?
well,
And when were they born, and where, if you know?
my paternal grandfather was Christian Gross. And he was born back of Bedford on the farm that John Thomas now owns. And later he acquired land over here and
In this valley here?
in this valley.
Approximately in the area where you live
The
now?
land that I live on, he acquired, and
When was your grandfather born approximately?
I don't know. I have to be honest, I'll tell you, I do know that he died in 1887.
Where is he buried?
He's buried at Beavertown, the very tall marble monument in the Beavertown Cemetery.
Is that in the Union Cemetery or
in
the
the
Spruce Lawn? In the Union
in the
Cemetery?
church cemetery, right east of the church. And my paternal grandmother was Mary Benford, born in Beaver Springs, or rather, I should say, in Adamsburg,
Right.
which was the town then.
Yes.
And she's also buried there. Now, my paternal grandfather was died in 87, and he was 85. So
He would have been born approximately 1802.
about 1802, and I believe she was a year older.
So she would have been born about 1803.
So,
Or older. She was, so it'd be 1801.
yeah.
Yes. Now on the maternal side.
Well, I don't know too much about that. I know that my grandmother was married to Daniel Snook. Daniel Snook. And he died rather young. I don't know where he was born. I don't know
Now, this is Mrs. Klingler, it would have been.
She was Miss Klinger.
Yes.
She was Miss Klinger.
What was her name?
Her name is Ada Klinger.
Ada Klingler was your grandmother, and she was married to a Mr. Snook.
Daniel Snook.
And was Daniel Snook the father of your mother?
Beg pardon?
Was Daniel Snook your grandfather on the maternal side?
Yes, he was my grandfather.
Uh-huh.
He was my grandfather. And he died about, I think, 1895, along there.
And do you know where he's buried, sir?
Yes, he's buried in the same cemetery.
Beavertown Cemetery.
Both of them are buried there.
Well, your roots go very, very deeply then in the Beavertown area, and we couldn't have a more fitting subject to give us some very interesting information.
Now, my great grandfather, I could tell you this, I think, was Johannes Gross.
Johannes?
And he was married to someone from the Philadelphia area. I don't know her name. And he got the original grant of land from John Penn for 640 acres.
In our Middle Creek Valley
in
here.
This valley here, of which the land I live on is part. And his brother-in-law was Joseph Potts, and this might be something you could research a little bit. Was Joseph Potts, who opened the iron ore mines in Shawverville. And Joseph Potts was married to my great-grandfather's sister.
Which Gross it would have been, but what was her maiden?
I don't know that.
You don't know her first name?
No, I don't know that.
Okay.
And they never come up here. They were the founders of the Pottsville.
Oh, I know.
And the Pottsville Iron Ore.
Yes, sir.
And they opened the iron ore mines here. And I might, since I had it in my notes, I might say one of the first earliest memories of my life is to get up in the early morning on the farm, look out of my window which faced the south, and see the miners go up the Shawverville Road with their lanterns about 5 o'clock every morning, one by one.
Were the lanterns on their heads, or they hand carried the lanterns?
They carried their lanterns.
And that was to give them illumination so they could proceed safely along the road. Was this a line of lanterns then?
A line of lanterns, maybe a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall that, and I looked forward to seeing them. I was about 3 or 4 years old, I guess, at the time.
And this was going to work in the morning?
Going to work in the morning. And I didn't see them coming home because they probably came home before dark.
Yes, sir.
And,
now the Shawverville Road you're referring to is just up over the ridge from where you presently live.
No, the Shawverville Road started at a place, you go up the road, what I would call the Rarick Road, up past there.
That's going up to the Beaver Springs Reservoir now?
Up in that direction, and it branched, right? One branch went to the east, and the Shawverville branch went to the west. Over quite a little ridge there.
Yes.
It went to the west. In the corner there was a brick cabin.
That was the Coon
Coon
Beavertown Ship poorhouse at one time.
Yeah, well,
and Mr. Coon Hooven lived there, Conrad Hooven.
Coon Hooven lived there when I was a boy, and many is the basket of food and sausage and meat and bread and potatoes I carried to their home.
Gee, I hate to get off the subject, but now that we're on Coon Hooven, Did you ever hear of how he came to leave England?
No, I didn't.
Well, since I brought it up, it's alleged that he murdered a man and fled Great Britain and came to this country and joined up with the Union Army and distinguished himself, and then was given a discharge and subsequently got a pension from the Union Army.
$8 a month.
And he was married to a Mary Decker, who was a sweetheart, an angel of a woman, from what I've been able to
She's
hear.
a fine woman, a good cook.
Yes, and she did the best she could, but Conrad was somewhat reluctant to uphold all of the responsibilities of marriage that he may have committed himself to.
Well, liquor was his master.
Yes, that's what I understand.
And
In fact, we have untapped something here which we'll probably want to talk more about sometime. Just some anecdotes about Conrad who,
that's where the Shovelville Road, right past his cabin.
and now, how did you witness the people walking with the lamps?
Well, I could see it from my house as they walked on that road, along the road.
Okay. Now we're going to pause just for a few moments and let some other folks ask you some questions. So just stand by, Ira.
Well,